Welcome to Unraveling Midlife. I'm your host, Sarah Spence. Thanks for joining me as I explore my own astrological midlife by speaking with all sorts of inspiring people about their life and work. If you're new to the show, welcome. At the end of the episode, I share a track of my original music. There's more information about my guest as well as the music in the show notes. Astrological midlife relates to Western astrology transits that run from the mid-30s to the mid-40s for everyone. Each of the main midlife transits have an overall theme, though details vary by generation and by individual, and in fact the age varies a bit too, depending on where the planets were when you were born. This time directly corresponds to the term midlife crisis, though I do prefer the term of midlife unraveling, thanks Brené Brown. So far, this podcast has been me unraveling my time with these astrology transits with others, or unraveling more about their lives, with these people that have gone through them or are within the transits themselves. It's like an honouring of the passage of moving through these interesting times, usually coloured by a bit of a shake-up. Today's guest is Chalice Malcolm, a shamanic practitioner who holds workshops on making medicine drums, amongst other things. One of New Zealand's earliest adopters of the heart medicine cacao, Chalice now lives off-grid without the electricity to make the chocolate. Enjoy our conversation that ranges from drum creation to living off-grid, the dream of many, and all the other bits and pieces we burrow into. Chalice, welcome to Unraveling Midlife. It's so good to have you here. And I can see you on the screen, and you guys won't be able to see, but I can see Chalice, and she's in a yurt that she made.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd have to correct you there. It's actually a hand-sculpted earth house, not a yurt, so it's got solid walls. Yes, looks very similar to a yurt in some ways.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't actually know that.
It's oval in shape, and yeah, it's been a year in the making, it's so nice to be in here in winter. And thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here as well. I'm really looking forward to going deep with you and exploring the, I'm sure, wonderful questions you have for me.
Well, just to get started for listeners, I mean, you do a lot of things. You take people and help them do a myriad of self-journeying, and clearly you've been busy with your hands. Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do and where you're at and where you might go, and open question.
A big question. So for a start, I've always been interested in creativity and creative expression. That's a really big passion of mine, and I love to see the uniqueness in that and what individuals can bring forward. And there's a sort of a way that is connected to a vibration that I really want to see more of on the earth, and especially also for myself. So when we think of the education system and how that locks us into a way of thinking, and I'm really all about freedom, and so I guess that's sort of carved my path. And the other principle I follow in my life is integral pathways. So I love to know where things have come from, and I love to sort of be working with the essence of that. So there's a piece there that creates a deep feeling of love and connection and well-being when you have that. So an example is around the medicine drum. So I work as a shamanic practitioner. So I do one-on-one healings for clients, and again, in those healings, it's really about sitting and listening and being present to people's storylines and the connection to, I guess, the shadow and the jewel underneath that, and bringing in a place of, again, that breathing out, that relaxing, that connection, and that aligning for what is their individual way of being, the plan of what their being wanted as they journeyed into this world. Around the drums, I really, so it's the hand drums. They come from the sort of the process comes from the Cree Indians, from the Plain Indians in central or the Northern America, bottom of Canada. So my ancestry, my great granddad was born on an Indian reservation in Saskatchewan, in Estevan, and we don't really know the storyline there because it was hidden. One of those things about colonialism and shame. And when I first made my medicine drum, it was kind of quite a bizarre experience because I knew what I was doing, and I really feel grateful that I had that moment, because for me something opened and it really exploded. The first drum I made, the skin was an elk from one of the reservations in America, and the rims came from they were composting rims. Actually, they came from the UK. The woman that taught the workshop was a woman called Unity Joy from she flew over from the UK to hold space for us. So through that integral pathway thing, my passion was I want to make drums, and I want to make them representing the vibration of this land. And so that's how my medicine drum workshops came, through a lot of trial and error. And with that also, I really, I loved how Unity Joy worked, and I kind of stretched out the workshop a bit more so people could explore their medicine and what that actually means, because that's that connection to the drum, to the heart, and to the rhythm, and therefore it helps healing. And when I say healing, really I'm meaning about remembrance, because it's all about remembering who we are. So yeah, so the through those two kind of lines of passion and the creativity and the integral pathways, I've kind of landed here, and which is up in the far north, on some land, and with my partner and myself, and we're off grid. We've planted I don't know, hundreds of fruit and nut trees and vegetable gardens, and we've got some animals, and yeah, we're trying to live in a way that we can eat what's on the land, and again offer space for creativity and healing and remembering. And yeah, so that's really where I'm at now. And it's been a long journey to get here, actually.
Yeah, I guess I sent you some dates around your astrological midlife, which of course what's the podcast's loosely based on, and it always gives everyone a little bit of reflection, like what was that kind of feel around that time. I know that I met you at the end of your astrological midlife, probably around the same point of yours as I am now in my own, and you were doing a lot with chocolate at the time as well.
Oh yes, well the chocolate thing was an interesting one. I think the Aries moon, go forth and conquer, kind of interesting energy that comes forth and making statements, and then, oh my God, what am I doing? So the chocolate journey, I didn't actually really even like chocolate so much. So that was around 2008, I think. But I had a taste of the Loving Earth raw chocolate, and it was like, oh my God, this is pretty amazing. So it was very heart opening and euphoric when I ate just this bar of chocolate. And what came out of my mouth is, I want to make this. So that began a journey of, again, looking at how am I going to do that? And I managed to source some beans from Bolivia that were wildcrafted by a community up there. And we were supporting them. So it was wild beans grown in the Amazon, and it was one of the two original strains of cacao. So it was they were very unique. And I began the chocolate journey then. And then David Wolf came over. I don't know whether you know him. He was the one that brought the idea of bringing raw chocolate into the community, and the benefits of it around the high magnesium and the antioxidants, and how it's really supportive of heart health, and also the opening of the pineal gland, and just that kind of feeling of just support through that cosmic channel that is within all of us. So he came to New Zealand, and so the next sort of statement out of my mouth was, "Oh, let's have a cacao dance." So that was sort of probably, I think, the first cacao elixir chocolate experience in New Zealand. That was, I think, around 2009. We had it in Graylan after he did some wonderful talks at Michael Park in the auditorium there. He's got a wealth of knowledge just around food and well-being. Yeah, so we had a dance there with Christina from Five Rhythms and Jimmy. They came and did the African drumming. I think there was about 250 people there, and yeah, it was pretty. It was really yeah, it was amazing.
So
And
maybe
yeah,
for
sorry.
listeners who don't know David Wolf, can you describe where's he from?
I think he's American or Canadian, and he's got quite a presence online. I think you can find him on Telegram, and he started Sacred Chocolate, which is another one of the pioneer brands of raw cacao in the States. Yeah, and he works a lot. He sells a lot of supplements online, and sort of a lot of things, like he does a lot of mushroom tinctures. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in New Zealand doing that now, so I probably recommend that they look in, more local for supplements and things. But his information, he has a newsletter, and I think it's David Wolf, and David Avocado Wolf, actually, WOLFE is his, and yeah. In
I have
David
seen him as an online presence, but I really wasn't that sure what he did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's quite good to know, well, if you're drinking cacao or going to a cacao ceremony, these are some of the early people that brought it to New Zealand and to the community.
Yeah, and to the world, really, the idea of it. It sort of started with him and Shazza, she's British, another crazy. And I think, that was back in the day where raw food was a craze as well, which I did do. I dabbled in for a couple of years.
Oh, wow. And so how did you come to do the medicine drum? Did you said shamanic practitioner, you said something about training when we were talking earlier.
So I think I'm not sure exactly the year I started training. I think it was probably around 2005, 2006. It was just so around that time, my
astrological midlife.
yeah, my marriage broke up. And I've always been very sensitive to energies, and it was just such oh my God, yes, this is how I can utilize what I feel in my body. So I started training. I'd done a aura and chakra reading course prior to that, and then worked with a healer in Bali, and then started doing my first workshop was called Shaking the Bones, that I did with Shen Alderton and Layla Lees on Waiheke. And yeah, it did blow my mind, just working in sacred circle, creating an altar, understanding the energetics of the medicine wheel, and the power that has around setting up really like a vortex, a torus to the divine. And it's it's a place of listening. And that was after being a mother for I still am a mother, obviously, three children. It was really, it was just so on point, just to be able to stop and be in circle and start to come back home to, who am I? What is happening? Where is my life moving to? What am I turning into? And it was, so through that, then Unity Joy came, because we were doing shamanic journeyings with the drumming. We all in the group, I think most of us went to this workshop and birthed a drum. And then from there, I just fell in love with the idea of how supportive, and you will know this as well, being a musician. I'm not a musician. I just, but I, how playing a drum can create change, and it actually puts you in quite a beautiful trance meditative state that you're able to access more than you would otherwise. And it's, again, chipping away, working on the inner and chipping away of all those blocks and patterns that are there to be really looked at, honoured. Yeah, so that was during that time. So yeah, I trained probably for around 12 years actually.
Yeah, wow. And when did you start offering your own drum making workshops?
Gosh, maybe that was around 2012. So we did the first one down in Otaki, and yeah, so that was pretty phenomenal. And we processed the skins ourselves. So I managed to source some deer hides, and but it's been a big journey of learning. It's not a particularly it's a full-on task to do. It smells, and you're working with death, and it really created a completion for me as well. I think that's a big thing that's missing in our world today, is that deathing part. And I mean, this part of our life there is a lot of deathing because we're kissing goodbye to that youthfulness, although there's something else that comes towards us that's just as amazing as well.
That is part that I find inspiring as my hair slowly goes silver. So the deer hides, they're local?
They're in New Zealand.
They're in New
They
Zealand.
come from, they actually they're culled out of Fiordland because yeah, they're wild deer, and they come from a beautiful hunter in Fiordland who is really a great shot and excellent at skinning, because that's a big piece of it too, to skin them well so there's not a lot of slits in it. So I can create drums from that. Yeah.
And I presume that there's quite some ritual around receiving them and I
Well,
mean, prepping them
yes.
physically, also spiritually.
Oh, it's like, well, I mean, it's a lot easier for me now, but initially I felt like when they arrived, and I'm feeling it now, I'm getting goosebumps, but and tears, because you have, it's like you have the deer's souls there, and because also, I guess, because there is, I mean, I have spoken at length to this, the man that does the shooting. So he's very aware of what I offer, but also he is very respectful in the killing as well. Yeah, but you feel them. And there was at one particular point in time, because quite often when they get shot, the blood sort of collects underneath the layer of skin, and so when you've got the knife and you're moving away the fat and the meat that's remaining on the inner part of the skin, the blood is coming out. And I had this incredible moment at one point when I was fleshing the skin, that it felt like I've done this. And it was like that feeling, that sense of the energy of the blood. And it's interesting to say, but there is so much memory and honoring of what the blood does, because it's such an incredible part of, that mammal system of delivering nutrients and cleaning up the body. And I just was so awash with that reverence of the blood and that feeling of communities before me that I was part of, and humans have been part of, and this was a really important part of our role. And that there is so much respect to that, and there is also the sadness of the soul. And yet, when you eat meat, to honor that part of it is so important. And it's part of the cycle as well. It's the cycle of life. And I know I had one little reel that I did when I'm spontaneous. I'm very spasmodic in my approach to social media, but I did do a reel, I think it was sort of this time last year, but it got like 1.4 million views. But there was such an uproar from a lot of countries all around. It was really interesting to see how it went through all these different countries, because there was all these different languages. But yeah, there was, like just with meeting the, how people get so affronted with the deathing in the vegan community and things. And yeah, and I do have vegans who come and do the drum workshops as well. But you're also honouring because of the shamanic aspect of the journeying, and the connection to the drum is connected to the heartbeat, and the soul of the heartbeat of the animal connecting to your heartbeat. It's through the heart that we can do these incredible sort of experience. We actually go on these incredible journeys and actually allow space to explore and look, and without having, that spirit of that animal, I don't, it's just not quite the same. And it connects us also to, the ancestral past, to where we've come from. So therefore, where it supports us in, really having a look at that uniqueness that is us, and the storylines that has been all those that have walked behind us. Yeah. It's a bit of a segue into a lot of things, but yeah.
So maybe I'd need to put a trigger warning when you started talking about the processing.
Yeah.
I appreciate, that these animals were going to die anyway, number one, but also I know someone that culls for a living, and who's one of the most spiritual, respectful men I've ever met, so.
Exactly. And I don't think any Indigenous race is vegan. So, I think there's something to be said about that. And
Well, even vegetarians in India, and I guess there's a bit of a topical history. I don't know what the actual research says, but there's all sorts of things that people say. But I remember being in India at an ashram and working in the kitchen, well, sitting around chopping vegetables, and we're like, oh, there's a slug. And, we're carefully taking out the bit of the cauliflower that's all murky. And the locals are just like, no, just chuck it in. And we're like, oh, slug. But actually the reality is that a lot of the reason the vegetarian people in India don't have a B12 deficiency is likely because they inadvertently eat a lot of insects.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we're lucky today that we have these supplements to support those that are, interested in that kind of diet. And this is no judgment around them, but it's, my way of life is different. And I have been a raw vegan, and I did enjoy it to a certain extent, and yet I feel like now, living on the land and trying to live sustainably, I don't have to buy food that comes from miles and miles away. Like I can collect eggs from the chickens, and meat from our cows, and yeah, and the vegetables and fruit from the garden, and it's great.
It's an interesting world we live in these times.
It sure is. Yeah.
And there's you living off the land, and here's us on Zoom,
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? There is benefits to the technology and to how we are. Yeah.
And so what are you offering at the moment? Like you have, I see occasionally a drum workshop that you're having. I did take a peek at your website, and it said, well, we haven't got enough electricity living off grid right now to grind some chocolate beans, so that's a bit on hold.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not sure about the chocolate industry. I'm really pleased. There's a lot of other beautiful people making chocolate out there, and I'm thinking maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Early adopter.
I madly have 2 cacao plants that I'm desperately trying to keep alive at the moment, and we do have plans for quite a high double walled sort of tunnel house, glass house. Well, will be a plastic tunnel house type thing. So if that works and they grow, we might get a few beans, but definitely nothing for mass production.
Nothing for sharing.
But yeah, a little bit of sharing around people. It'd be nice if people come. We can offer our own cacao. But it's interesting. It's not quite the climate here, and I think the quality of cacao that grows in the tropics will be way far superior. The workshops coming up, I have 3 drum workshops. So I've got one in Matakana, which is non-residential, in September. So That's the 14th to the 19th maybe. And then there is one in October in Cromwell, which is very exciting. So I'm heading down south. So, and then we've got one on our land. So that, and the one in Cromwell's residential, and then we have one on our land, which will be camping in. I think that's they're all about the same time, in the mid sort of like 14th-ish of each month in November. So October, September, October, November, and also in September I'm working at the moment on a women's retreat, sort of exploration, and more details will come, but I'm really excited about that. I sort of, sometimes with the workshops, it's, like I've got clients and I just keep getting hit with the same theme, and it's like, oh, let's just really sit and explore this a bit deeper. And this one's connected to pretty much midlife actually as well. It's connected to kind of like that looking back and finding that skin that was buried and what that looks like. And another part of this is the response to finding it, and then like how to kind of like, put it on and actually expand it out into the world the way you want to, you really, what the vibration of it, how that that wants to shine in the world and flow. And that will be it'll be probably a Friday to a Sunday, and sharing food together. And we'll do some nature connection work as well around it, and a piece of sacred crafting. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's just in the development, but that'll be on my website shortly and probably on social media as well.
Cool.
And then the other piece. So I've run probably, gosh, I'm terrible with numbers. I think I've run 6 or 7 4-year courses. So I used to do like them, I used to have 2 groups running a year, and that goes for 5 days. We meet for 5 days, 4 times a year. And that's working in sacred circle, and it's exploring your shamanic toolkit. So it's exploring your experience of what you receive through the veils of the worlds, and then looking at the aspect of the power and the medicine that you bring in. So it's quite a deep one. A lot of nature connection work, looking at vibrational essences and connecting to the plants, and then looking at different aspects of the shamanic healing, so for shamanic counseling and soul retrieval work. Then your relationship to the sacred masculine and feminine within yourself and on the outer as well. And then we do a little bit of movement, and each workshop also has a sacred crafting piece. So like we make a journal, we make a power mask, we make a medicine bag. We look at, what is the gift of bringing each individual kind of connection to the elements as well. And the new aspect that I'm working on a bit at the moment too is a bit around the body systems, which I feel now as I'm older is really important. So looking at the body systems and the earth systems, and also the plants that support that. So looking at sort of the aspect, not just the vibrational health, but also the physical health, and herbal medicines that, that really you respond to and respond that. And so then in Native American, in their sort of philosophy, and I really love this, is that everything that you need is within walking distance. Now, this was when we lived in a wild space, because the whole idea of that is that we're not separate from the energetics of the land around us where we live. And and I've seen this multiple times myself, when you start to understand that and connect into that, and there's doorways, like there's always these doorways you enter into. So and when I say doorways, I mean that the energetics of the intelligence of the nature the natural world around you, like the intelligence of the plant spirit community, and how they're working in alignment with each other as well as in alignment with you. You walk through different there's different doorways and steps of appreciation, and I've really felt that here on the land, because this was just a kikuyu paddock when we arrived, and it's been quite a big task in creating the microbiome of the soil. I mean, we're not there yet, but I've really noticed also the difference in the quality of the vegetables. You know, we've got composting toilets, so that all, you know, our gut biome and the soil biome, you know, how that's meeting. So there's a bit of that around the 4-year course. So it's really around your environment. So it really actually starts to bring in that really juicy connection, even if you're living in a city. You know, it's calling in the wild places. And the first range of vibrational essences that I made, so my brand is called Wild Heart. It was all the wild weeds that grew in my urban garden in Auckland, and I love them so much because they just appeared in the garden. And you know, when you allow to sort of look and let things be and see what happens, and it's not just, you know, the thing is, what I'm dealing with here is I can't let the kikuyu be because it'll just be kikuyu. So it's an interesting journey I'm on at the moment around creating the wild spaces that I had, like I did in Auckland. So it's sort of like clearing the land, and then, but yeah, there is things that just appear, and I love that.
Cool.
So
yeah, you've got vibrational essences as well as part of
it. Yeah. I think I've just got that particular, so I've got 7 online at the moment, and yeah, there is others, but I haven't kind of gone to the detail of actually getting them to markable, sellable, you know, all that hoopla. I've been so busy building my house and things like that. So yeah.
Cool. So when you say that, because you've told us about the women's retreat that's kind of in development, and your drum workshops, and you've got some vibratory essences and on your website, that the course that you're running, are you still running them, or is that?
Oh yeah, so that one, so I am setting up I'm getting organized for that, and it will start in March next year. I mean, it's quite a big commitment, so I need, you know, like that takes time to sort of allow people to really feel into the yes for that. And the commitment really is year on year, so you commit for the first year and see how that rolls. And that one, you know, I don't have any more than 9 people do that one. To me, that's enough. Yeah, so 7 to 9 is a good number.
And you run it on your land now?
Yes, I'm going to run it on the land. I've run a couple of workshops up here, and as you've been up here, so it's quite nice now. We have a kitchen area, and you know, this summer also we will be building our first bedroom.
Ooh.
So hopefully, you know, within 3 years we'll have 3 bedrooms, and so we'll have a bit of space for people to come and stay and experience as well. That's another idea.
And not camp.
And not camp, but there will be, you know,
it's such beautiful land. It just has magic twinkling in the
yeah, I love it. You know, some days it's just you wake up and yeah, it's really nice to be in a valley and to have such beautiful sunrises and sunsets. And you know, we've you know, the first couple of years we really worked very hard. Well, mainly Ken, to be fair, he's incredible on, you know, creating the water. So we've got enough water, so we put in dams and you know, just looked at the catchment and swimming holes, got a beautiful swimming hole, and it's so good to keep, you know, like slow the water down as well, so that it stays in the land, so the soil keeps moist, and then it's not the flooding that happens. So there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of regeneration happening. We've also planted, he's actually just finished cutting down, I think most of the pines are off the par now. He's created a track up there, and we've planted 30 kauri trees, which is very cool. You probably won't see their the glory of them, but it's really, and there's like he's been doing a lot of cutting paths in the bush and things, which is really nice. So
I
yeah.
found myself craving a Kāori fix recently, and when last time I was in Auckland, I went out into the Waitakares, and I miss that energy. I mean, there are a few around where I live in the Bay of Plenty, but
Yeah.
but they're all kind of roped off at the moment, which because of our Kāori getting sick, which is a bit sad with those trees being so sick.
That's why we want to plant a lot, and I think we've planted another 5, and then we've also planted a lot of other natives as well. It's great. So we're sort of doing a mix of natives and exotics. Yeah.
And
What's that?
I was wondering how your papaya and all your tropical fruit trees were going.
We'll be feasting on papaya probably in the next month, which is very exciting. So we've got in the tunnel house, and I've got 30 or so little babies that it's just easy to grow them from the seed from the supermarket. It's quite amazing. But I'm going to try and put them in some parts of the garden. But I mean, I think they may. It's just I think the thing is with those tropicals, they love the heat, and it's really important that they get the heat to get the flavor. So I think they'll be good in the tunnel house, especially this winter's been. We've had lots of sunny days, so it's been like summer in the tunnel houses. It's a bit of a question mark to see how they'll grow outside, but I've also got mangoes and growing outside. Pineapples do pretty well outside up here. Bananas, sapote, which is like sapote, like a sweet avocado. There's a variety of flavors. You've got the white ones, and then you've got one with kind of an orange flesh, and then you've got the black sapote, which apparently is like chocolate pudding. And jackfruit is another one that can grow quite well. And
there you go. The vegans all like that, but
and then all the citrus is so beautiful.
Well, there is good citrus where I am too, which is a really really lovely after growing up in a city. You're lucky if you knew someone with a lemon tree. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
So my website's chalice at my website's wildheart.nz, and email chalice@wildheart.nz, or I mean, I'm online, so Chalice Malcolm, so I'm on Facebook or Instagram, so you can just send me a message there. So I do, and I offer one-on-ones, and definitely if you're interested in a drum, I think they're starting to, I haven't actually started advertising yet for the one up here in November, but I'm starting to get a bit of traction on the Matakana one and the one in Cromwell. But it would be great to have you. It's such a neat workshop. We do go slow. We work a lot with, a lot of people do drums in a day. I don't. I really like to explore, that connection that people have to their medicine. As we stated from the beginning, that's a bit of a passion of mine to be able to hold space for an exploration into what each unique medicine is, and sort of what it is and around that initiation of actually having a medicine drum. So I like to honour that whole process.
Not just making a drum, it's a work in its entirety that has a drum come out of it.
That's right, and that's what one of my well, actually it was a chef who worked at Bindi. She was lovely. She said they actually get a drum out at the end of this chalice, but there is a lot that happens during it, and that's true. And I really love that. And it is about that heart connection. That's what a drum is. It's about your connection to the rhythm of your heart, and breaking down the shadow protection we've put around that. And it might just be at the start of breaking down it, actually. We're tricky creatures, us human beings.
Yes, aren't we? People, hey?
Indeed.
Oh, great. Thanks so much for joining us on Unraveling Midlife Chalice. It's been a real pleasure to find out a little bit more about your background and what you do and how you got into it.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been my pleasure. I feel very honoured that you thought of me, actually, Sarah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I like talking to inspiring, interesting people.
Well, you're most welcome anytime. It was lovely having you up. And now we've got like a wood stove to cook on, and it's nice and cozy if it's wet.
Well, we shall see what the summer brings, because I don't think I'll be wanting to camp in the middle of winter.
No, no. And we will be, I mean, we're earth building as well this year. So if anyone wants that kind of experience, it's a good one to learn how to cob and make your own home.
Oh, cool. Yeah, actually, I'll make a note of that. Make sure I put that in the intro. Awesome. Thanks, Chalice.
Much love, and thank you very much.
Welcome to the music section of the show. Today's music is a live track from a recent performance of Unraveling Life, with a complete makeover of a song I wrote 20 years ago. It's been given reggae beats and an addition of a pagan chant. The song is called Mother, and only the third verse bears any resemblance to the original. I would like to thank very much Karen Hunter for the concept of the reggae backing and reimagining a quiet, folky song prayer into something quite different. Karina has also played bass on the backing track. She plays flute on the live track and does vocals along with Brooke Haley. Here is Mother live at St Columba in Grey Lynn, Auckland. Unraveling Midlife is brought to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand by www.sarahmarlowspence.com. Theme music is by Sarah Marlow Spence and Sarasvati Marie Willis, and art by Samantha Hepburn.